One of the tragic realities of 2023 is that there has been more mass shootings than there has been days, despite only being halfway through 2023. One of the most recent examples of these tragedies was at the Covenant Christian School out of Nashville, Tennessee. As a reaction to the ongoing rise in gun violence across the United States, 3 Tennessee lawmakers took to the floor of the Tennessee state legislature demanding action, not just from Tennessee lawmakers, but from lawmakers from across the country. And as a result, 2 out of 3 of them were expelled from the legislature. Justin J. Pearson and Justin Jones were suspended, or expelled rather, and Gloria Johnson came within just 1 vote of being expelled as well. Joining me now is one of those expelled lawmakers, Justin J. Pearson. Thanks so much for making the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Wyatt, for elevating this really important issue.
Of course, of course. Let's just start out with, obviously, I'm sure when something like this happens, there's a lot of logistical things behind it. I know you can be reinstated into the state legislature. I guess, is that something you are, looking towards, and how close are you along that path?
Yeah, I definitely want to be reinstated next Wednesday by the Shelby County Commission, who have the constitutional authority to do so. But I think the really important thing is, why were we expelled in the first place? And it wasn't just because we broke some House rule of decorum. It was because we advocated an end to gun violence, an issue that is permeating our communities, impacting a lot of youth and younger people, whether it's school shootings or shootings that are happening almost every day in districts like ours in District 86. The issue was that we were standing up against gun lobbyists and organizations who do not want to see people speak up and to speak out. And the Republican supermajority in Tennessee expelled us and brought up resolutions for our expulsion because of it.
And I mean, I guess you bring up an interesting point, and many people have been bringing, this up over the course of the past little while, is that, you were, democratically elected to the state legislature the same way as, any of the other representatives who are a part of that state legislature. When you do return to the state legislature, or if you return, I mean, I think a lot of people are definitely expecting that to take place. I guess, what are you going to do as it relates? How can you use your voice to continue pushing for what you believe in, and continue pushing and advocating for these families who have been obviously hurt and harmed so much by the rise in gun violence?
We have to do what we've been doing, which is continue to listen and give voice to this issue and cause of concern for so many people across the state of Tennessee and across the country. We are here, unfortunately, because of the tragedy in Nashville at the Covenant School. It's the loss of Haley Scruggs, Evelyn Deakhouse, William Kinney, Mike Hill, Cynthia Peake, and Catherine Coombs that has catalyzed a conversation about the need for gun reform, the need for just legislation that protects our communities. And I hope that in this moment, the state of Tennessee, instead of seeking to silence the voices of people in our communities and the people who represent our communities, who want to see an end to gun violence, who want to see young children be able to grow older, who want to see grandparents to be able to retire and go to their own children's weddings, who want to see a type of future where we are all safer, not because we all have AR-15s, but because the communities that we have are doing all that they can to actually prevent gun violence from happening in the first place. And so we will use our voices to continue to advocate for our communities, as we were doing in the State House before our expulsion.
And you and your colleague, Justin Jones, were both expelled from the state legislature. Gloria Johnson, mind you, she came close again, as I mentioned in the introduction. She came within 1 vote, but she is still going to keep her seat in the state legislature. And your, colleagues in the Republican Party, your former colleagues, I suppose, they have been giving, reasons as to why they, voted to expel you and not vote to expel Gloria Johnson. But many people are also, bringing up the optics of this. A lot of people saying that this is obviously racism. I guess, what do you kind of blame? Do you see that as a potential reason? And I guess, what does that say if it is?
Yeah, there's no way not to talk about the issue of race in this moment and the effect of racism or white supremacy in this situation. But what I think is also important for us to think about is what is undergirding this institution and the way that it is operating, that led to 3 expulsions being filed against members who only peacefully protested, who only walked to the well of the House and spoke to the people in the galleries, that we have to stand up as legislators and listen to them and do something. I mean, it is anti-democratic, the process that has taken place, and all of us should be terrified that people who are in positions of power are wielding their authority against voices of dissent that they don't like. That is not good for democracy. That's a mobocracy. And that's what we're experiencing in the state of Tennessee and across this country. And that further erosion or assault on our democracy will only lead to worse outcomes for our people and communities on issues of ending gun violence, protecting our environment, helping to ensure equitable educational opportunities for everybody. This erosion of democracy that we are seeing that is consistent and persistent in so many ways is devastating. And we must act in an intentional and vocal way now about that, in addition to the issue of gun violence, if we are going to be able to preserve the democracy that so many people, including my ancestors, fought for us to have.
And a lot of people are bringing up the historical significance of this. Obviously, the fact that two lawmakers were expelled from the role that they were elected to serve in is significant in and on its own, but it's not very often, historically speaking, that this happens either. It's been quite a while since that has taken place. What do you make of the historical significance of this?
Right. It's historical, it's unprecedented, and in some ways it's unconscionable that the supermajority Republican Party, Cameron Sexton and Governor Bill Lee and all of these folks in positions of power are allowing their power to silence the voices and disenfranchise the communities of District 86 and of District 52 in the state of Tennessee, where we represent over 140,000 people collectively. It is hard to really fathom just how painful this reality is for our communities that are being left without representation because of the politics that are being played by people who don't want to do something about ending gun violence. This is historical. The last folks who were expelled, one, most recently, one committed 22 acts of sexual assault against individuals, and the one before that committed bribery, actual crimes that they were indicted for in criminal court. We broke a House rule, and the Republican Party and the majority party in our state house said that we needed to be expelled because of that. But it was the issue that we were fighting for. It was that we were saying we have to care more about kids than guns. We have to make sure we have laws in place that are actually preventing gun violence rather than trying to have bills that only address symptoms. And we have to listen to future generations and younger generations of people, Wyatt, who are leading this movement.
And I know, obviously, Vice President Kamala Harris came to Tennessee. You spoke as well, I saw, with President Joe Biden recently. What has, that aspect of support been like, having, the support of, some of the most, not just well-known people. You have the support of the President of the United States, but also someone who really carries so much significance, the executive branch of the United States government, showing their solidarity.
Yeah, and the solidarity is really important to have, and we're really grateful to President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. For me, myself, my fiance Oceanae, in addition to Representative Johnson and Representative Jones, it's really important to show the entire country that we believe in democracy. We don't believe in people abusing and wielding power against those that they don't like because they don't care to really propose solutions to the problems. It's important to show that we believe in democracy, where all voices matter and where the First Amendment, the right to speak up and the right to protest matters, where the right of people's votes to be respected and not disenfranchised just because you have the power to do so is something that matters to this country and its foundational principles of government. That is really important, that the executive branch of government is 100% supportive of us, and in private and in public conversations have shown and have said that we have to do something about the epidemic of gun violence that we're seeing in our communities. And now is the moment, and this is the time, and we must listen to the voices of young people, the children, the teenagers, and youth and young adults who are saying that we can and should be better than we currently are.
And just lastly, before we conclude, when you do return, because as I said, again, a lot of people are definitely expecting that you, along with Representative Jones, will probably be returning to the state legislature. Could happen very soon as well. What will your message be to your Republican colleagues who voted to expel you from the state legislature?
Yeah, the message is clear. Anti-democratic behavior is dangerous. Expelling people because you disagree with the ideas is dangerous. Uh, and the main thing that we are going to explain to our colleagues is that we need to do something to end gun violence. We need to pass real just reforms and legislation and provide resources to communities to prevent gun violence from occurring. And we do not need to have false solutions of just putting more police officers in schools. We need to prevent people who are having access to guns to not have access to them. And so we're going to bring this movement back to the Tennessee State Legislature because we're not letting them off the hook for their behavior and for the injustices that they are perpetuating against the people in Tennessee. We can and we must be better than this. And I am committed, and I know our entire community is committed to seeing justice happen here.
All right, we'll leave it there. That is expelled State Representative Justin J. Pearson joining me tonight from Tennessee. Thanks so much for making the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Wyatt. And we're going to keep fighting.